Thanks for staying with us. Now, as of 2013, the Nigerian film industry, also known as Nollywood, was producing about 50 movies per week. Second only to India's Bollywood, more than Hollywood in the United States. Although its revenue are not on, at par with the Bollywood or the Nollywood, with Hollywood rather, Nollywood still generates an impressive, or it generated an impressive 590 million, and I'm sure that figure has risen, compared to what we have today. Now, if the industry is properly managed, it has the capacity to generate millions of jobs and can be a major revenue spinner. Little wonder we have lots of more private people, investors gradually becoming major players in this space. So how can we create more investment opportunities in this Nollywood space, the movie industry? Now, please let us share what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow, or you send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so because I'm trying to rush quickly, let me hear your 1 second before I bring in our guest.
I think I already did my 1 second earlier.
I know.
I just want to, it's for me.
Well, how do you think we can get more investors in it?
This conversation, right, is more of what are the opportunities, are there opportunities? Because when we hear, we have to ask
there are opportunities.
You are the one saying it. So when you go to gatherings or events or seminars, when people are telling you, come and invest in so and so, you can invest in oil, you can invest in agriculture, you can invest in this. I've never, maybe it's just me, I've never heard anybody say you can invest in Nollywood, right? So I'm glad we're having this conversation, and they can help us understand how can you come in. Do you have to be a creative to come in? That's the major question.
Well, one of our guests is not a creative. let me hear Maury, 1 minute. Maury, what do you think? Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's an
really?
author.
I just saw that he's an investment banker.
He's an author.
Maury, Maury, let me hear you. What do you think we can do to attract more investment in the Nollywood space in Nigeria?
I think that with the investment in Nollywood, I feel like there are certain kind of people that actually invest that the general populace doesn't know about. Nollywood actors and directors, they do get investments, but I think it's maybe low key, or I don't know. But when you interview them, you will hear that, oh, we got this there's also this bank that you can get investment
Bank of
from.
Industry.
Bank of Industry. So I think that they get investment, but I don't know that they allowed it enough. So I'm really maybe it can be broadly, spread across.
Absolutely. All right, so let me bring in our guest. Please, Anyiam-Osigwe is the Chief Executive of the Africa Film Academy, the creator of the Africa Movie Award, that's the AMA, and the premier and the globally renowned reward platform for the African and African diaspora film industry. She pioneered the screening of core Nollywood films at International Film Festival. She's a very silent operator. All right, while Chukuka is an investment banker, an entrepreneur, and a partner at Racecourse Capital, a private investment and advisory firm with a career spanning over 20 years at world-class financial institutions. Chukuka has executed deals in corporate and project financing across multiple sectors. He specializes in structuring and raising large, complex multi-source and multi-currency financing from cradle to grave. He is one of the executive producers of the movie God Calling. So in case you didn't know, now you know. And they've joined us live via Zoom. Thank you so much, Chukuka and Peace, for joining us this evening.
Good evening.
Thanks
for having us.
All right, so Peace, let me start with you first. You are, I was telling Elsie that you are a very silent operator. You make things happen, but you're so quiet. And I think I like what Maurice said about, not louding it enough. Maybe that's why people don't understand that this industry is quite huge. Because when I was reading up on how much money, has been made. In fact, let's not even go too far. The movie Omogeto, the figures that came off, even in a pandemic, it tells you that this is a very, very lucrative space to invest. So how come we do not have so many people? We hear filmmakers always complaining about not having enough investment and all of that. Is this true? And if there are investment opportunities, where should we be looking out? For us that maybe we just want to invest and make money from that space.
Okay. One of the things I would say about Nollywood is the fact that there is a lack of structure. Okay. And the lack of structure means that a lot of people don't see the numbers. So there's a lot of unbanked in the Nollywood cycle. So you find that people are making money through films, but a lot of them are not banked. So you have a lot of actors who do wakapas who are paid, but they're not paid via the banks, they're paid in cash. So people don't get to understand how much money this industry makes. Now, the whole problem or the ecosystem of Nollywood is where the money needs to go to. So we need more screens, we need more streaming platforms, we need audience measurements for television stations, which is all being done right now with the DSO that the Ministry of Information is doing. So there will be more content needed for the 60 channels or so. But what is happening is that people have to build into the ecosystem. So where do we really need investment? We need investments in the infrastructure areas of Nollywood. So we need more studios. We need a film lot, like a hub where people can basically go and do everything from script to screen. So right now you don't have those areas. So I would like to see more community cinemas built around Nigeria as a whole and the rest of Africa secondly, so that we can show films more. Omogedo would probably have done a lot more if there were a lot of community cinemas. The fact that we have less than 400 screens in Nigeria, and where that film, the crowd for that film is actually very much in a rural area. So a film like Omogeto would have done higher numbers if you had a cinema in like a Jegunle, in a Lakbere, in Kotuegbe, and really, really densely populated areas. You have more screens there. Those are the people that enjoyed the film like Omogeto. Now, if you understand the Nigerian film audience, it's a weird audience, what you and I may want to watch with the Hollywood films, the Nigerian audience don't want to watch that. They want to watch the likes of, I'll give you an example of a film that I found very strange a few years ago. It was Wives on Strike. And the queues were amazing. And the kinds of people that were going to watch it is the same thing that happened with Omogeto. People that you wouldn't expect will bring out 3,000 naira to go and watch that film. And they had to travel. So the 3,000 naira wasn't only the cost that they had to put in. They had to put in travel costs as well to get to the cinema. So if we had a cinema in their locality, you could probably have tripled the figures that Omogeto gave us at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
for me, if people want to look at where the investments are, because government has put in a lot of money in Nollywood through BOI or the new creative industry loan, but I feel that it's not being directed where it needs to go to. That's my personal opinion. And what do I mean by this? There are over 240 post office houses all over Nigeria, actually totally being wasted. And these can easily be converted to community cinemas in those localities, which will mean that there is more ways of generating revenue. This industry captures a lot of young people who have an interest in acting, who have an interest in either writing or something. Like I always tell people, there's over 170 different jobs within the film ecosystem. That's our reality. And that's from script to screen. So we can absorb a lot of people. So in building out or trying to build out the ecosystem, you would have more employment, and the GDP, both locally and internationally, will increase. As you know, the new frontier for creativity is Africa.
Absolutely.
That's true. And I'm sure Chika might go the same way. Being an investment banker, he might find that I'm slightly different, but I'd like to hear what
let me come to Chuka, Elsie.
So, I understand what you're saying in terms of the ecosystem being bad and the structure and all that, but our aim tonight is to really see how an individual can step in. The government has a lot of work to do, and so far we know that we cannot wait for these people anymore. We have to do something, right? But before I come back to you with that, let me talk to Chukuka. I mean, you're part of the production of God Calling recently, and that movie, if I can say so myself, was really amazing. Yeah, it's now on Netflix and all. What prompted you to go into that line of business, and did you make your capital and return on investment as well?
Thank you very much for those questions, and thank you, Peace, for all the comments you made earlier. With God Calling, I felt that the story was very important to tell. I felt that we didn't have enough Christian movies, especially coming out of Nigeria, where we preach God a lot and also export God a lot, right? In the sense that you have like the Redeemed Church moving into the US. There are at least almost 1,000 Redeemed churches in the US alone, as an example. So Nigeria has a God-type branding on it, but for some reason we don't do as many movies in that space. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the team at NEMSHA. I was very encouraged by their technical capabilities and all that they wanted to do with the VFX, you know, Zainab as Sade jumping off the bridge and things like that. Those are things that we really hadn't seen before. And I also wanted to explore personally. I had talked about working in film. I had talked about investing in film. I wanted to walk the walk, right? To put my money where my mouth was. So I put some money in the film with a couple of other executive directors, and we sort of charted the course. I actually led the international distribution of movies. So we worked, you know, myself and Caribbean in particular, worked very closely going to the different churches, you know, Redeemed Church in particular, but also the Nigerian Embassy in New York. We went to the UN, went to so many different places, even universities we went to, and we showed it. And each of these places paid thousands of dollars. So when you actually look at the economics, it's interesting because in Nigeria, let's say a movie is 1,500 naira. The popcorn is about 700. The drink is about 300. That's 1,000 naira that goes towards the cinema house in concession revenue. The balance of 500 is what you will see in the com score, where they say, you know, like for instance, you mentioned the Omo movie that made 600 and something. Right, Omo movie made 600 and something million. So that's the 500 naira, right? But when you break it down, that math is 60% goes to both the theater house, 40%, 20% to the distributor, and then you, the owner of the film, keep the balance of 40%. So on every 1,500 naira, if you look at the unit economics, maybe you get something like 150. Because remember, you still do a premiere, you know, advertise and go to the radio and do all that. You know, we in our case, we even flew to different churches. RMD flew to DC, to Jesus House. Myself and Zainab and Caribbean went to New York, went to Dallas. All those monies together was almost over $50,000 just on travel and
PR,
going to show the film and stuff. So on a unit basis, maybe we made in Nigeria something like 100 naira per every 1,500 naira ticket that we sold. But abroad, we did phenomenally better because one, it was in dollars. So we were charging, you know, just without giving you all the secret away, because that was our secret weapon. Say a church with 500 people paid, a church with 50 people paid $500. That's $10 per person. In today's rate, that's 5,000 naira. And there's no middleman. There's no
direct
distribution. There's no tax. There's nothing, right? You're taking it from a tax-free entity. So that money comes straight to you. So each person in Nigeria that watched the film is equivalent to almost like, what's that? Almost 15 people or something like that watch it in the US, right? From a revenue per head basis. And when you then do that math and extrapolate it, you see that these non-cinema revenue going to somebody's house, going to somebody's, some of our private viewings were as much as 8 to 10 million naira. Just one person in his house, 5 of his family members, right? So we did extremely well on the non-cinema revenue. And in fact, those numbers actually dwarf what we did with Netflix. So just using God Calling as an example, I think that there are ways to to do some really interesting things to get your movie heard and sold. I mean, I don't know whether you know, but we actually had God Calling shown, the trailer was shown at The Experience twice.
Yes.
We showed it and Cecil's Flight Time, what's it called? Rhythm Unplugged. We showed it on the three days on the weekend.
So you had strategic partnerships.
Yeah, that had never been done before. We also went into all the spas. If you were buying anything in spa, the entire December, you would see God Calling trailers showing on all the televisions.
Absolutely.
Those innovations that we brought for God Calling that nobody has ever done before. So yeah, I think that there were some interesting ways in which we're able to extract value. But then again, it helps when you have investment bankers.
You know, it's so interesting when you talk about middleman here, and I see it, and that's why when I hear, oh, this movie made 600 million, by the time you do the maths, the person is not really, you know, and that's where you see a lot of filmmakers, you know, complaining. But before I come to Peace back, let me come to Maury. Do you have a question before I come to Peace?
Yeah, and I think my question, this actually is a topic that interests me. But then he said something about how we don't have a lot of Christian movies. I think that he meant to say we don't have a lot of good Christian movies, because we have a lot of Christian movies. And I think that was one of the things that made God Calling stand out. I don't know if you've seen it. You know, the church scene was an actual church. It was not white chairs and white drapes. It was the chorister. It was like an actual, you know, green leaf kind of setting. But actually is now, is there like a particular way to source for investors for a movie? Because if as an indie filmmaker now I want to make a movie, I can't say, oh, this is where to go to for, you know, to meet like invest or to, you know, show them like my portfolio. So is there like a, I don't know, like an avenue or like a platform to like source for like investors for your film?
Across the globe, sourcing for any creative art is very difficult. If you had met Nice when he did his first album, Kongwaso, you would say to yourself, for sure, the next album will be fantastic. But it wasn't. It's just how it is. And so with film, you can't on an Excel spreadsheet determine what the projections are for the movie. You can't say, I'm going to make, you know, if you've studied these numbers for how well movies do. Yes, people always talk about the ones that have done 400 and 300 and 500 and 600. But there's a lot more that have done 35, 30, 25, you know? And so because you don't know whether this 100 million you're putting in the film will turn to 30, in which case you get a third of it, which is 10 million, which means you've lost 90 million naira, or it'll do 600. By the time you get your money back 200, you made 100. Because you don't know what that scenario is, it's always going to be very difficult. So for me personally, I will not invest in a first-time movie maker. You're not going to use me to learn. That's the first thing.
That's the Riot Act.
You just read the Riot Act to us.
Not interested. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I like certification. I don't believe in, I just got off, what's that thing called? Face of Africa or Big Brother, and I have 1 million followers, and therefore I want to act. I will not cast you. That's me.
Let's close our eyes.
Thirdly,
Chukuka.
I believe that certifications to me are very, very important. And I'm trying to make money, right? So I need that film. I need the speaking in the film to be done in a way that it is translatable abroad. Because without the crossover appeal, you can't start a God Calling in Lagos and end it in Netflix. Remember, we also did Amazon before Netflix. Before that, we did Vimeo. You can't do all those revenue buckets if you've done it targeting just your people, right? It's not going to work. So crossover appeal is extremely important. The other thing that I think is also overlooked is I think that there's some structuring that can go into the capital structure of the deal. So for instance, when you're starting off, are you starting off with just equity? Are you introducing some debt? To what extent are you introducing that debt? Because if you introduce too much, it might be too much, right? It might eat up the project. I think also that the areas that we continue to see need for improvement are areas like lighting, sound, script writing, that the script is just bulletproof, right? There's no, you know, parts of the film where you're like, okay, but I don't understand, or you get lost or something. as a result of bad writing. So we need to take our time and have more investments in actually, writers' rooms and creative rooms for people to actually balance well and really understand how to create those, bridges and cliffs and cliffhangers and twists and turns in the writing, as much as you're just telling a story, right? Because just telling a story, folktale is very different from if you're trying to create a 24, where every 15 minutes something dramatic happens.
Okay, you know what? Let's go and drink some water because Chukuka just shattered our hearts. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going for a very short break.